It's the coldest, windiest, driest place on Earth, utterly remote and stunningly beautiful. You don't need a passport as no country has sovereignty. There's no formal time zone and no official language. But there's an abundance of wildlife, spectacular scenery and incredible icebergs, making Antarctica a trip of a lifetime. My journey began in Ushuaia, the town at the end of the world. It's on the southernmost tip of Argentina, but my expedition ship was about to take me even further south. Our first stop after 36 hours at sea was Port Stanley, the capital of the Falkland Islands. On its main street, skirting the water, is the world's most southerly cathedral, with an intriguing whalebone arch, and a memorial to the British forces and islanders who died during the Falklands War. On the 30th anniversary of the conflict, and with Argentina recently refusing entry to cruise ships that called at the Falklands, the war is of particular interest to visitors at the local museum.
We find a lot of people actually are surprised as well when they realise the scope of the war in 1982. I've had a number of people saying, oh, it was a real war, and they're surprised by that. So, you know, it is important that we make people aware of that.
On a lighter note, I was shown an intriguing exhibit, an old pub jukebox.
I always find it quite funny, actually, to imagine sailors and slightly sort of roughy-tufty, burly men sitting in a pub listening to this kind of thing. Of course, women at that time just did not go into the pubs in Stanley, so yeah, it seems a little incongruous to me that they would listen to this kind of music, but I guess they did.
And does it play?
It does indeed, yes.
Oh,
it's not on the coin-operated side of things anymore. We do have to wind it now.
Right,
but,
right.
Yeah, let me wind it up for you.
Okay, that's great.
The Falklands is an archipelago. On West Point Island, we were lucky enough to spot the black-browed albatross, sharing its nesting ground with rather funky rockhopper penguins. Back at sea, we began to understand the nicknames for the latitudes, the furious 50s and screaming 60s. But then, on day 6, a milestone. We crossed the gateway to Antarctica.
Well, we're halfway between the Falkland Islands and South Georgia, and just only in the last few hours we've crossed the Antarctic convergence, where the cold Antarctic waters meet the more temperate waters, and you get upwelling, bringing all the nutrients and food to the surface, and it's a wonderful feeding ground for the bird life.
South Georgia is one of the most isolated islands in the world, with glaciers, snow-covered peaks, windswept shores, and some pretty formidable wildlife.
All the sighing, belching and snorting is coming from these guys, massive elephant seals, which when I first landed on the beach, I just thought were rocks. Despite appearances, they actually move quite fast, and they each have up to 8 tons of blubber on them, so you wouldn't want to get in their way.
But it's Deception and Half Moon Island, part of the South Shetlands, that give us our first real taste of snow. Braving biting winds and sub-zero temperatures, we head ashore.
A protected area, this rocky outcrop that we have here with a beautiful orange lake, and that's where...
As my group set off in search of penguins, I asked our expedition leader if, with 25,000 visitors to Antarctica each year, he felt the right balance had been struck between protecting the environment and wildlife and promoting tourism.
I think so. I think we've figured out how to have a trade organization which effectively also self-regulates, and we watch each other very closely and let each other know, and we have to report to our comrades, our peers, on the things we do and don't do. So you've got a system that's very difficult to describe, but it's got a lot of checks and balances that keep everybody in line.
Regulations demanding ships use cleaner and more costly fuel have recently forced larger vessels to pull out of Antarctica. Companies that remain say distance, climate and weather deter all but committed players. As we push onwards, the seas get icier and the temperature a lot colder. But I still can't wait to reach the world's last wilderness.